Nope. All right, it's 7 o'clock. Looks like we're up and running, so please stand if you can. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll take on a little bit more meaning after the events of this week.
For sure.
Jackie, you have the roll?
I do.
Okay. Consent agenda items, items A through D. Adopt the agenda, minutes of past meetings, financial report, summary list of bills, plus the list of additional bills that Jackie sent out this afternoon. Brent, one of the items that we talked about, do you want to talk about that now or later on?
In the new list of bills that Jackie provided, you'll see on page 1, kind of, I don't know, half, 3/4 of the way down is Stan Houston equipment for an iron worker for $10,934.30. That's in the Ag Industrial Tech shop, and that purchase went kind of through the Perkins process, and that will be reimbursed. So there's federal money that comes back to us for the CTE programs. So I don't know, Jason, if you want to kind of explain what that process looks like for folks.
Yep, so we get two different funding sources to use for the Perkins dollars as well as the RPP. So we're in a consortium with other districts, and based on student enrollment, we get a certain piece of the pie. Each year we sit down and for CTE, the business, facts, industrial tech, and ag, we put together kind of a list of needs and wants. And we try to keep it on a rotation of what we're spending it on. So one year we might spend it on some appliances in the kitchen. You know, we might spend it on some tools for industrial tech. Business is probably the most difficult to spend it in because you can't use consumables. You can't use it for curriculum unless it's a new curriculum, professional development. So both Josh and Grant proposed the iron maker to help with the metal fabrication side of things. A lot of kids getting into welding, getting back into welding and doing some metal fab work, some metal construction. So this multi-purpose tool will allow us to do a lot of the cuts and things that they've been doing for their different projects in there, and just kind of bolster that. It did take up a majority of our funds, but we didn't have anything else. No other, Jill or Ben really didn't have anything else to put it towards. So it's one of those things where it's nice to have some additional money that gets reimbursed, that we can kind of get something we normally wouldn't get for that particular program.
So it is fully reimbursed?
Yep. Yep.
It's just a machine for metalworking?
Metal, so that punching, cutting, yeah. Basically, we have something there that's it's pretty outdated. It's some type of metal saw that we use to cut pieces for like any fencing we're doing with the ag department or anything we're doing with some of the, the cars that we're working on in there, some of the restoration projects that kids are working on. It's dual purpose.
Sure.
So it's, yeah, Grant, and from the conversations they get together with all the ag and industrial tech, much like all the CTE instructors do, and they say, what are we missing? What's something that's further develop kids for career, and this is something that they thought is worthwhile endeavor if we didn't have it.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
You bet.
Any other questions on those items? Not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Second. A motion and a second to approve the list of consent agenda items. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item 3, recognition, congratulations to students, staff, and community.
later in the agenda, we've got early retirement, resignations. And by plan, I didn't want to submit any additional student recognition, staff recognition, or community recognition, because I'd really like to highlight Connie Boovy, Bruce Eckenrod, and Sue Van Wy for their many years of service to Central Lyon students and our community. And I think they deserve all the accolades that we should shower them with at this time. I know all three of them did not come to this decision lightly, and so I think it's important that we lift them up for everything, whether it's the classroom, the extracurricular activities that they've sponsored over their careers. I just really want to thank them.
For sure. Big shoes to fill there.
Yes.
On to item 4, communications, public participation on non-agenda items. I decided to check the list, see if anybody has signed up. Not appear anybody has signed up to speak. Any additional correspondence?
I don't have any. Jackie?
None. Okay. Moving on to item 5, reports, principals, Mr. Harmon, elementary literacy.
Just wanted to start off by again reiterating the parts of our literacy program that we've invested so highly in as a district in the last couple of years. Start off with just a summary and a formal report of the fall fasting, fall and spring, of how it has layered over the last years. As you remember, we went to this after 5 years of deciding what the state needed and how that curriculum would fit those components from the state. And so there are into reading that is now implemented through the 8th grade into writing, that continuation there. You can see how our numbers, if you follow the same grade, you go from 17 to 18, and then you kind of skip a white column there. You know, you can see our numbers are increasing. So it's really good to see. I guess as a teaching staff, we were fearful for how far they would have dropped with the pandemic that happened in March. As our teaching staff know, that it was far less effective as being in the classroom with them every day. So that was encouraging, but talking about that type of curriculum, talked to some staff today, or over the last couple of days, about what they truly value out of that curriculum. The younger grades really like the power words, and that's something that resounded through the very strong vocabulary backing. It seemed that our vocabulary program we were using was very simplified compared to what they're putting in now. Also the reading curriculum has some very strong science connections. It also has some social studies. They said they're able to hit a lot of science topics along with their reading, which saves them time instead of having a separate unit over the eye in science. If they're doing that, human anatomy, you could talk about it along with their story. Some things I got from the upper grades, the 3rd and 4th grade, they really like the technology as far as how it rolls in the Canvas and what they can allow. If we ever were forced into a distance learning model, that how those two do relate very well together with Canvas, what we're using. Some other things that they say, the content stories are very meaningful to the kids. The Rigby support books, by buying this one, each classroom was given a set of 6 titles for small group intervention. And then the 4th grade teachers came back and said there's great stories and literature and vocabulary built in all through the week. So they feel this year is being the 2nd year of implementation. They see a lot of, or they feel a lot stronger and more confident about it, about their pace, and how to keep going to continue through the year. So they're excited to get to a full year with the curriculum. So that's where I started. And then next month I'll talk into where we are focusing on whole group and small group intervention with our Tier 2 plan. Any questions?
Okay. Mr. Engelmann, high school advanced placement and college course offerings.
Sure. Kind of wanted to piggyback off of our last discussion at the board table. We talked about enrichment programs and advanced learning opportunities. So I kind of just Did some reaffirming on a few things and checked in with some of my resources as well as updating myself on the AP courses that we offer here and the ones that we could potentially offer, as well as the concurrent enrollment classes offered and taught here, as well as available to students through NCC, that agreement that we sign each year that allows us to take classes through NCC and achieve dual credit. So I think in my notes there I put there's 116 current classes being taken. That's a student may be taking multiple classes. There's some popular ones that they take very religiously, I would say, here at Central Lyon, to try to get their generals out of the way when they go on to post-secondary. So there's some differences and obviously some similarities between AP and concurrent enrollment offerings. The 5-point weighted, which helps with the GPA, the 5-point grading scale there, as well as just advanced placement, just getting in more rigorous. The quantity as well as the quality of work is at a much higher expectation. From stepping in the classroom as well as conversing with the teachers, they're expected about 3 times as much work and are graded much more, strict on some of the things that they must do. They have to go more in depth with topics, especially in the AP world. So yeah, just kind of some things I didn't include in there as far as college credits are concerned. College courses, we do have a local policy that you must take 6 Central Lyon courses to be eligible to take any college courses. Now, you can take above and beyond. So we do have some students that take more than just 8 courses, per semester, and are achieving, I think I said in there, I think when they graduate, we're averaging about 18 to 24 college credits once they leave our school. So just I just kind of wanted to highlight, I don't know if it's so much, giving you new information, but again, highlighting some of the quality opportunities we are affording some of our kids who might not have the opportunity to do so at the school they provided. So, we're getting a lot of good feedback from kids that are going into post-secondary. They're getting to move past, accelerate through some of their programs. Kids that are finishing and scoring well in the AP Calc exam, for instance, are, having to miss Calc 1 in college and they're going right to Calc 2. And they're prepared for Calc 2. So a lot of good things come from that, a lot of good discussions with our 4 instructors there that are listed. They have to do a little bit different professional development for a dual credit class. They are monitored by NCC. They are on a tight schedule, so we talked a lot about pace, I think, in our work session. So the pace is rigorous. They can't afford to get behind schedule, so they must, you gotta keep up. So healthy enrollments, 12 and 13, I think, in our 2 AP classes, and again, number of students taking advantage of the college course offerings. The summer courses, just for FYI, the summer courses were available just this year, and that was through a grant. So we didn't have to pay for that or anything. That was through a grant NCC got, and they emphasized STEM classes. So that's why you have some algebra classes, and there's some computer science that kids were able to take over the summer. So hopefully that continues because that was well received. You guys have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions, but I have a couple comments.
Okay.
We do have a student who is interned at the firm over the winter break and stuff, and he specifically mentioned to me that he was able to take a lighter course load on the engineering side, if you will, because he came out of Central Lyon with so many college credits on some of those elective general type studies, and those are real dollars for our students and families. If I have my math right, 18 to 24 college credits at SDSU is right around $5,600 to $7,400. So
Yeah.
that's certainly, if the members of our student body that desire a post-secondary education, certainly encourage them to take advantage of that. Anything else for Jason?
That engineering track's been quite popular.
It's good to hear. Okay, moving on. Jackie, anything on your end? No. Okay. Board members, anything to report? Okay, Mr. Jordan.
As I mentioned last month, over Christmas break, a couple final projects finished up in the restroom, locker room, and kitchen project. So that project is entirely finished. Whether it was the painting of the lockers or the ceiling grid with the addition of the privacy walls, all that stuff is complete. So I think our last payment of $58,000 is, will close that project out. And then I'd also like to thank the Education Foundation for their support of the addition of screens and projectors in the auditorium. So that was also finalized over Christmas break. I want to thank Steve Bresky and his crew, Curtis and Jeff, for getting that all done. So nice addition in there for when we have our all of our meetings in the auditorium and programs, now they can project up there. In addition, you probably all saw last Thursday, Governor updated her proclamation, and so a lot of the restrictions in regards to just household members attending activities has been altered. And so for Siouxland Conference, we went to a 50% kind of capacity limitation in our gymnasium. So last Friday night, if you were at the game, you saw basically every other row seating. And I would say we moved the student section to basically where the middle school students had typically been. And so really the first three sections of our home side was pretty full. Now the mezzanine area was available, so we had some more seats available. But for us, we have a 1,500 seat capacity. We reserved 250 for visiting fans, and that means we have approximately 500 tickets or wristbands available for people coming into our building going forward for those events. Concession stand will be available starting tomorrow night for the Esterville Lincoln Central boys and girls basketball games here that we'll host, and we'll have a concession stand going forward the rest of the year. Masks are still required for any events indoors. And so we cannot necessarily guarantee 6 feet social distancing. We'll do the best we can, but the every other row seating really results in people sitting next to each other. So we're another step closer to normal. I wouldn't say we're entirely normal, but that's the most recent update when it comes to kind of our activities. If you saw the website today, our active cases in the student body, we've got 2 students in the high school that are positive, and then we have 1 staff member that's positive. So really, again, pretty low levels as we look at the number of students impacted, whether it's positive or having to quarantine. So, been a good start. Again, we got our fingers crossed that here over the course of the next week and a half, we don't see any additional cases. And hopefully, going forward, we don't have any of those kind of big holiday events where multiple families are getting together for certain things. So, again, I want to thank the principals, Mr. Bresky, and everybody for smooth transition back to the school year.
Any other questions for Mr. Jordan on this topic? Okay, item number 6, old business, there is none, so we'll move right into item 7, new business. Item A, consider approval of the 2019-2020 external audit and financial statements by Grant Williams.
I don't have much more to say than what's in the memo. We met as the finance committee, Mr. Jans and Ms. Davis were here. Mr. Jans on the phone, Ms. Davis came in, and Mr. York and I were on the phone with Helene and reviewed the financial statements. I submitted a copy to all of you to look at as well. So if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer those to the best of my ability.
I know when we had visited, we'd asked about, the auditor and how long that contract, we got 1 year left on that contract. So, a year from now, we'll have to look to go to bid again for either, a 2-year or 3-year agreement with another, either continuing with Grant Williams or somebody else. So, wanted to get you guys that information as well.
Okay. Terry and Dave, anything specific, any highlights?
No, nothing out of the, for the most part, it's very similar to a report that we have seen in the past. The only item of note would be the financial statements. That's, is a note every year. It's something we accept, and we know that we don't have financial statements on an ongoing basis. Elaine prepares them for us once a year, and we accept that at this point, so.
There's no more discussion
Well,
on that.
this is good news.
Yes, absolutely. There's no more discussion on that item. I entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second?
Motion and second to approve the 2019-2020 audit by Grant Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Items B and C, I see that we may need a roll call vote. Do we need to take those together separately, Jackie? How'd you like us to do that?
We don't need a roll call vote. You're just approving your prevention program and approving the allowable growth that goes with it. Basically, the plan has to be adopted. I'm just reviewing that, which is on pages 18 through 22. It's almost identical to last year's. Do we have to have a roll call? Did I put that in there?
I think we do.
You do.
Okay.
Yep.
I couldn't
Page
remember-
24.
Yeah, I couldn't remember that we had to do that, I suppose because of the allowable growth.
Yeah.
It is a permission to tax. So anyway, you have to approve the plan on its own, and then C is requesting the supplemental aid and allowable growth for the amount, and then that would require the roll call.
So Jackie's memo does a really nice job of just kind of laying out how we're expending those funds that ultimately are really supporting the people in those programs, right? So whether it's Jeff Jager kind of making his salary whole because only $11,500 is coming from the juvenile court services. The alternative school programming is really Denise Snyder's, and students in credit recovery and students that are identified as at risk because maybe they're behind on credits or they failed a class and we want to support them in a more structured study hall environment. And then the third bullet there talks about the Title I allocation doesn't necessarily fund all of our title teachers, so that's part of the program. After-school programming, counseling services, again for students, not only in the at-risk program, but then also trying to create those work-based learning, job shadowing, job study types of programs. The at-risk behavioral specialist, currently that's Jill Jansma, again working with students that have different needs that may or may not have been identified in an IEP or a 504 plan, and then our TK program. So it's really the individuals that the at-risk dropout prevention program funds.
This year, our student count of identified at-risk youth went up a little bit, I assume because of COVID, so a lot more students were identified as that potential. And it can be a variety of reasons, either because of grades or something that's known about home life or whatever. So we do have identified students that are meet the qualifications for this as well. Students that either Mr. Jager helps or Jill Jansma helps fall into that as well.
Further discussion, questions on item B? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the plan.
I'll make a motion to approve the at-risk dropout prevention plan.
Second. A motion and a second to approve the plan for 2021-2022. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item C. Somewhat the same.
I just attaching an amount to it.
Yep. So with that, we don't have any additional discussion on that. We can have a motion and a second and have Jackie call the roll.
I'll make a motion to approve the amount listed there.
Second.
Motion and a second. Jackie, please call the roll.
Postma,
Aye.
Jans,
Aye.
DeWitt,
Aye.
Davis, Coop.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item D, review board policy.
So, the memo, and then there's a separate document of the actual policies. I'm just gonna highlight a couple. The first being 603.1. The note at the bottom of the page there, kind of explains updates in legislation, specifically in regards to, the fact that we have to begin offering computer science starting in the 22-23 school year. While that seems a long ways away, that means that we have to be either recruiting somebody internally or externally at the high school level that's certified in computer science, okay? In addition to that, the year after, we have to provide some computer science aligned instruction at the middle school level and also at the elementary level. Now, those individuals at the middle school and the elementary level don't have to be certified in computer science. You only need a high school certified computer science teacher. As you know, we teach tech ed courses at that middle school level, whether it's Sam Cruz or Sue Van Wy presently. But the state has adopted computer science standards, and we've got to develop a plan for implementation of how we're going to teach kids those computer science standards. And it really starts at that high school level and begins to work its way down through the rest of the district. So, wanted to make note of that. Also, 603.3 special education. We updated last year 505.5, which is the graduation requirements. So, again, with the graduating class of 2022, all special education students have to earn those core English, math, science, social studies credits. Now, it can be modified and accommodations can be made for special education students, but that's just reflecting the language about graduation requirements. So I wanted to point that one out. And then number 2, talking about rescinding a couple policies that were part of the leave that we updated at the beginning of the year in regards to the FFCRA leave. So while Congress updated the CARES Act, they did not include an extension of 80 hours in paid time off for individuals that either contract or have family members that are impacted by the coronavirus. And so when we adopted those earlier in the year, the note said that they would be rescinded in December, or at the end of December. And so that's what we're taking action with there, with 409.2 exhibits 1 and 2. Otherwise, if you have any questions about any of the other policies, most of them are minor language changes from shall to may, things of that nature.
Under the rescinding, the ones we're planning to rescind is the 603.2.01. Is that one recommended to be rescinded by IASB also?
Yeah, so it's, I couldn't find the specific year or what primer it came from, but a couple years ago it must have been removed. But there's language in there really about test administration and maintaining the integrity of the test for teachers not to, kind of provide students with answers to that, to make sure that it's secure. Primarily a bigger issue when maybe you had paper pencil tests in the past, but really since we made the transition to the ISASP, it's all been electronic. And so test security components really don't apply anymore. It's really just about the administration of the test and making sure that we're not invalidating the scores of the kids.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a recommendation as to whether or not to waive first reading?
Yeah, I think, again, vast majority of this is language change, again, aligning us closer to ISB. So I think we could comfortably waive that second reading and adopt the policies as submitted.
Thank you.
Have there ever been talk before of adding a computer science?
Yeah, so we got
Outside of the state recommended or demanded, or whatever the term you want to use is.
Yeah, the mandate.
Yep.
Yeah, so, you know, the conversation for us is right now, we do offer, you know, Denise Snyder teaches like a web design class.
Mhm.
And Greg Town has some graphic design coursework. But neither one of those classes are really aligned to that computer science, those computer science standards.
Do we have anyone who's certified in computer science?
We don't, and so we've got a committee together. Really, this month, a year ago, we went down to the AEA, kind of got our first, you know, look at those computer science standards and started to have a conversation about what do we want that to look like. And so that committee continues to meet and work on what that's gonna look like to bring back to you guys to ultimately approve. But the big thing is convincing somebody, hopefully on staff, to obtain that licensure. And we're pretty fortunate with where we live. Northwestern's got a program that is a 4-class endorsement, and people can take all those courses online, so it's pretty convenient. And a lot of individuals, as I talk to more superintendents around this area, that's the program that most people have used.
A lot of other schools in the same.
They're in the same predicament.
Same conundrum.
Yep.
Ish, whatever you wanna call it, not conundrum, but you know what I mean.
The 3 larger schools in the conference already have somebody that's obtained that, MOC, Sioux Center, Sheldon. But the rest of us, the other 7 smaller schools, none of us have anybody endorsed. And so we're trying to convince people that we currently have on staff. I just had a conversation last week with Chad Jansen. You know, if we can't do that, then we might need to partner together and, you know, share somebody between a couple different districts. You know, you're teaching the minimum of 1 course, maybe a couple different courses, but to multiple kids in multiple districts.
And so what do you envision in terms of the FTE requirements? Is this gonna add 1 FTE? Is it 2 or 3? Is it, what do you think?
Again, ideally, somebody on staff that's already teaching that we can hopefully encourage them to get that endorsement.
Yeah.
And it would be 1 or 2 classes to start with, and depending upon enrollment, it might grow over time. Anything you wanna add on that, Jason?
Yeah, it's still kind of up in the air. I mean, we're still trying to develop, you know, we have a very sound, I don't know if you even dub it computer science, it's more computer applications in the middle school. You know, trying to figure out what does that pathway look like and who's got to, you know, it's people, not programs, so we want to find the right person who's going to invest the time into it and really get the kids fired up about it, so. Still looking, you know, we're asking a few people and seeing if they have any interest in it, I don't know what it looks like FTE wise at this point.
To start with, it sounds like it's just
On staff.
1 or 2
is
classes.
At least starting with 1 class, you know, and try to build some momentum there.
Okay.
You know, and, you know, it could be anywhere from the coding pathway. It doesn't necessarily have to be a program of study like our other CTE courses. You know, we don't have to have 3 consecutive units. It just has to be the 1 offering to start with. And then depending upon how many kids participate and the excitement that we're maybe able to build, then we could look to add. And that's where I say, you know, a year from now, we haven't been able to identify that person on staff, then that's where we would start to look to partner with somebody else. And then, again, 1 or 2, you know, a quarter FTE, most likely if we're looking to share, somebody that's gonna be available to us for 2 periods of the day, is what I would look at.
So this is still an elective class that we're offering, that's not anything that's,
But you know,
but you
in
have
that,
to offer it.
you have to offer it, yep. It's not a graduation requirement. But you do have to offer and do everything in your power to get at least 1 student in there.
Okay. There's no more discussion. you desire.
I'll make a motion to approve the policies changes as listed and including considering rescinding the policies as listed and waive the second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second on the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item E, personnel, early retirement resignations.
As I mentioned in the recognition, we've got Connie Booby, Bruce Eckenrod, and Sue Van Wy, and their letters of resignation are submitted.
There's a lot of years of service walking out that door with those 3 early retirements. So we certainly thank them for all they've done for our student body and our community through the years. I wish them nothing but the best.
Agreed. Officially thank them and let us know when and if we're able to gather to celebrate retirements. I know in the past we had, obviously
Yep.
not in May of 2020, we didn't, but yeah, I certainly would like to show that appreciation for the years being involved with the district and my daughter for 1 year, but yeah.
93 years combined experience, right?
I didn't add them.
33, 34, and 26.
Sounds about right.
So as much as we probably don't want to do this, just for having some big shoes to fill, entertain a motion to approve those early retirements and resignations.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second to approve the early retirement and resignation. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Let's take items, the resignation and hiring, let's take those together, 2 and 3.
Sounds good. You have Inma's resignation included in the packet. Mark Lutmer recommended for driver's ed instructor at a rate of $190 per student is what his pay would be. And then Mr. Harmon got 2 recommendations, Kim Van Holt and Courtney Fleshman, for paraeducator positions as a result of 2 students, 1 new student to the district and then another student that was staffed in special ed prior to Christmas break.
So do we have to approve the driver's ed instructor position every year?
Yes.
Usually we've done it either, it's been a variety of months, either late summer, early fall. We just, all of a sudden, was one of those things that I had kind of forgotten about, and he had forgotten about, and I pulled it up and decided we better get that approved, so.
We'd approved the fee for driver's ed is $250 per student way back in August. And so then this is the hiring of the instructor.
Is that $190 per student, is that similar to what we paid in the past? Is that,
The same rate that,
Same for the
that's
last
what I thought.
2 or 3 years.
Yep.
It had been steadily increasing to make it equal to what was going on in the area.
Yeah.
very comparable to our neighbors as far as a rate of pay, so.
And he is the only person in our district, or between the 2 districts, that is licensed for this. It is a special endorsement.
Does he do George also?
He does.
Oh, he does.
You have to have a behind-the-wheel certification as well as a driver's certification.
So he can do the classroom and the drive time.
Are those classes, the driver's ed classes, are they fill up pretty quick? Are they generally always full?
Yes, we have had to limit it to only Central Line residents in the past, depending on the numbers. And with our class sizes in that age range getting bigger again, I'm guessing we'll have to do that.
Okay.
Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we had a smaller class, and then we did open it up to non-resident students. I don't think the classroom is an issue, it's getting all the driving time in.
Oh, you can get all the hours in.
With, especially with all the kids and schedules that are super, super busy, so.
So if I understand, the Spanish teacher's mother is what's pulling her, I mean, from her resignation letter, is that, accurate?
Yeah, I think the coronavirus has made that even more challenging.
Yeah, that's,
You know, a year ago, she was able to go home at Christmas and spend some time with her mom, and I just think, you know, after having been away for a year and a half now,
I'm sure it's tough. I mean, I think about if I was gonna go to teach English in Spain, I don't know, man. 2 years is a long time without going back to what you're used to, sort of.
So we had a lot of challenges to fill that spot last time. How are the prospects, Jason?
What's that?
How are the prospects moving forward?
You know, kind of anticipating this resignation, I know Mrs. Jorth as well, been reaching out to, you know, all the different colleges, universities around, and there are a few that are graduating with this year. You know, at the time when we hired him, I think there was 2 in the whole state, and that's what led us to this exchange program, and that was pretty much wiped clean that year as well. So, just had ongoing communication. I have reached out to a few people who are getting, we're gonna get that certification, so I know some names, I just don't know the level of interest at this point.
Sure.
Until it really was kind of a more informal conversations.
Keep us updated on that one.
Yeah.
If there's no more discussion on those, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 4 that are listed there.
Second. A motion and second to approve the resignation and hirings as listed. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Announcements, dates to remember.
Again, listed a few different events coming up between now and our next board meeting. Would like to highlight it is senior night for the wrestling team on Thursday. We waited because we were hopeful that we would get to this point where we are right now. Unfortunately, you know, the wrestling meets in George, but hopefully everybody that wants to see the CLGLR wrestling team in action can get over there for Thursday night's senior night activities. And then our middle school events get kicked off next week with middle school wrestling, 7th and 8th grade girls basketball. And then we want to wish Mrs. Hakeman and all those in large group speech the best of luck. Speech is looking different this year. Speech teams had 3 different options. You could go to a traditional large group contest with multiple schools. You could do it totally opposite, do a total virtual, or they added this kind of hybrid mini contest. So when we go to West Lyon for large group speech, it'll just be West Lyon students and it'll just be Central Lyon students. West Lyon students will perform in one room for the judge, then we'll come in and it'll just be the 2 schools. So we want to thank West Lyon for hosting and for making that available so we didn't have to do anything virtually or didn't have to travel to a contest that had 15, 20 different schools like it's been in the past. So, and then as you can see, postseason wrestling will really happen right before our next board meeting on the 8th of February. So that's also at West Lyon. So we want to wish the wrestlers good luck. Postseason basketball is about a week behind the beginning of sectional wrestling. So you can see State Jazz Choir Festival. We're going to host a mini festival. So we're only going to have 4 teams here for jazz choir. And again, it'll be a similar type of fashion, we'll have a schedule, and so we'll perform, and then we'll exit, and another school will perform, and then they'll exit. So we won't all be here congregating together. So it'll be a nice rotation, and Ms. Langholt, thanks to her for doing that, similar type of situation when it comes to the choir and the band competitions that start to kick up this time of year too. Anything else, principals, on the schedule of events that I forgot?
Okay, so according to the work session schedule that we were working around from last month, we had identified January/February as the work session to look at district goal number 5, which was ensure financial health. Now with you and Jackie have a work session at the end of, budget work session end of this month, is that right?
Yep.
So February is probably gonna work the best for that, depending on what the agenda looks like for the board meeting in February. We could possibly do it after that board meeting, or perhaps even start the board meeting a little earlier, if we prefer to just try and do it that night. But maybe we can make that call and discuss that in early February, once we know more.
Yeah, Jackie and I think it's the 27th. We have kind of our budget workshop with ISFIS and
Okay.
kind of go through that, so.
I'm hoping the budget file is actually available.
And that's where I think, you know, your guys' flexibility, we appreciate it. You know, Joel and Scott and I have another sharing meeting on, I think, the 22nd or 23rd. It's that last Monday of February. So if we didn't tack it on to the regular meeting in February, you know, maybe the 15th, if we wanted to look at a separate date.
Yeah, I'm just afraid, I know last year it was delayed getting to us, so we actually didn't have the actual file for our workshop. So I'd like to have more, obviously, concrete numbers.
Yeah, we'll be flexible there, we'll do what we can,
Great.
that's all we can do.
You know, the legislature's supposed to set, you know, allowable growth, SSA, within the first 30 days, which would be right around this time frame. So that's kind of where Jackie's saying that file's a little bit delayed from year to year, depending upon how quickly they move on that, so.
Okay, so the next item on the list is a closed session.
Right, I'm wondering if we can do those first?
Yes, that's what I was just gonna ask.
Do
Certainly.
that, and then we'll move on to the closed session, if everybody needs a restroom break or anything else before we get started.
Thanks, Sheldon.
Thanks, Steve, thank you, Jason.
Did you say go well?
No, yeah, no?
Well, my first would be, maybe. I don't know. I thought I was going to be tired, I thought, do it Saturday. But then got involved in the employer. He said, well, it could be off the day, Tuesday.
What day was the sharing one again?
Sorry.
What day were we looking at that?
At Monday, the 22nd,
Yeah. No.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
So, yeah.
because we had 7th grade basketball in Okoboji that same.
Did your daughter play basketball or no? Oh, man.
I know.
I don't know about that one.
Right?
Me too.
The next night they play North Carolina, it's a lot closer for me.
Yes,
You did or not?
I did. Yep, he's moving his cursor right now.